Hi everybody, it's Keelin from the Colour Me Alive Collective, and in honour of International Stress Week, today I'm going to be talking about some little tips and tricks we can do which will help us respond to our stress more effectively. So I want to start off by saying is that we live in a culture that sees stress as inherently bad. It's something that needs to be avoided, it's something that needs to be controlled, it's something that needs to be gotten rid of. And I think if you go into any bookstore or even look online, a lot of the titles in the books will say, control your stress, get rid of your stress, X, Y, and Z. But actually, if we're coming from a place where we want to get rid of, avoid, repress, suppress, get rid of stress, what actually happens is any unfavorable emotion, if we try to get rid of it and try to subtract it from our experience, what will happen is it has a rebound effect where it actually comes up stronger. So what I'm going to be talking about today is ways that we can just allow our stress to be there, come into our experience and react to it in a more beneficial way where it will lessen the impact and influence over you. So kind of finding ways where we can lessen the influence and impact of our stress over our body and over our day. So I guess one thing that will be helpful to do is to do a daily check-in. I always say this to people, and I know it sounds so simple, but actually for years I didn't really do that. I think it's maybe in the last year that I've really kind of, from going to therapy, learned of the benefits of a daily check-in or checking in with yourself throughout the day. And then I think that was reinforced by WRAP, Wellness Recovery Action Plan, where they say to, check in, what am I like when I'm well and what am I like when I'm unwell? And I think that's a really important place to start, because life is so challenging and so fast that actually the day can start and it can just get ahead of you. And you might be going through 10 hours of the day where you haven't even stopped and paused and checked in to see how you are. And I think it's so beneficial and so important. And I love to use the analogy of the car. When I'm about to take my car out for a drive, I check that the tank has petrol. I check that there's no hazard lights on to make sure the car's okay. And I make sure that it's safe to move off before I leave the driveway. And I think with ourselves, it's a lot like that too. It's important that throughout the day that we check in with ourselves. If you could just start even doing it once a day, that would be a great place to start. Ideally, it would be a couple of times a day, maybe at your lunchtime or at the end of the day. That would be great too, because actually, if we can check in with ourselves, see how we are, and if we're not feeling well, then we can give ourselves something and support ourselves in a way that we need. So I know for me, if I'm feeling stressed, what is good for me might be to go out for lunch for a walk. I find just getting out and moving the body is great. But it's those days when I forget to check that actually it's 4 o'clock and I'm completely exhausted because I haven't paused. So I think a really important place to start is to check in with yourself. And just when you are, a huge part of making our lives better and maintaining our well-being is through naming and noticing what's going on for us. So naming and noticing what stress is. People say they're stressed, but a lot of time when you ask them where are they feeling it in their body or where it's coming up for them, they may not know. And I know myself for a long time, I would have been like, oh, I'm stressed because there's a lot on my plate. But I might not have been knowing, actually, what am I like when I'm stressed? So for me, I notice when I'm stressed is when my shoulders are almost up at my ears. My posture becomes very rigid. I become very uptight and my shoulders are very tense. So I think something that's very important is, when you're noticing that you're stressed, sitting with that emotion, what's coming up for me? Okay, it's stress. Where are you feeling the stress in your body? And wherever you feel in your body, usually it's the shoulders for me. Something that can be very beneficial to do is to just give yourself a compassionate touch. So a lot of people struggle with the compassion part of this, and actually for a lot, self-compassion would be one that would be quite challenging for me. So actually where I just started with is just putting a hand on my shoulder and noticing the warmth of my hand on my shoulder. So if you want to try that now, just scanning the body, and it doesn't need to be stress that you feel, but just acknowledging whatever emotion is coming up for you now and where you feel it in your body. And just putting a hand there, just resting it there for a moment. So this sympathetic touch is great for regulating our stress because it just gives us an infusion of warmth, which is quite comforting. And it just kind of settles and grounds us. I know in a lot of books and videos they say to breathe into the part of the body where there's stress. That's also a great technique. But actually what I find is breathing can be really hard, and it can be a bit of a difficult place to start. So if you find the breath too much or too overwhelming, a hand is good. But if you can do the breathing, that's great too. So even for now, if there's usually I feel the tenseness in my shoulders, just to breathe into it. So now taking a full breath, feeling the belly expand, and breathing out through the mouth. And just imagining that, sending that breath, breathing into the stomach. You know, wherever we're feeling any pain in our body. So for my shoulder feels quite rigid when I'm stressed. Kind of breathing into that pain and softening up around the pain. And that can be a kind and compassionate way to respond to your stress. If you're in a very stressful situation, such as giving a presentation, I know people always find that very stressful. A good thing can just be to connect with the body. So it could be connecting with the back against the chair, or pushing your feet into the floor. And just kind of noticing that. So say if you're stressed in a meeting, that can be a great little tool or technique. Kind of acknowledging, here's stress, we're naming it, then we're coming into the body, and just noticing the here and now. So that's great at bringing you back into the present. Because with stress or anxiety, the problems start up in the head. So what we need to do is get out of our head and back into our bodies where we can feel grounded and safe. Another way to combat stress when we're feeling it in the moment can be to connect with our body after we've noticed and named it, connect with the body, and then notice the world around us, notice our immediate environment. So even if you're looking at that video, you know, noticing 3 things you can see. So I can see the painting of the Halfpenny Bridge, I'm noticing a television, and I'm noticing a clock. So that's very important for anchoring. So anchoring ourselves back into the present moment and becoming curious around what's going on around us. That's mindfulness in and of itself, and mindfulness is another great way to combat stress. So that is a couple of ways where you can manage your stress more effectively. So kind of noticing and naming it, giving it an acknowledgement, because again, our emotions, they want to be acknowledged and felt, and once they're acknowledged and felt, they will roll off more easily. But just allowing them to be there instead of battling with them. It's not that we have to want or like them in any way, but just kind of allowing them to be. So acknowledging what's coming up for you emotionally, connecting with your body, connecting with your immediate surroundings. That's a great way to tackle stress. And just the daily check-in. What's going on for me right now? And then how will I support myself? So if you are feeling fear, stress, anxiety, or sadness, you know, what is something nourishing that you can do to comfort yourself? And it can be having a cup of tea. It can be going for a walk. That's one of my favorites, just going for a little walk, moving the body. Or it could just be pressing pause and talking to a colleague or a friend. So that is all from me. Try these, or try one of these. Actually, that's the best place to start, is just to try one. And I'd love to hear how you've got on, but these little tools work very well for me when I'm feeling stressed. So I hope everyone has a safe week, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye bye.